I wasn't supposed to be at that gala. In fact, I wasn't even invited at first. My name wasn't on the list, my badge wasn't printed, and nobody at HR could even look me in the eye when I asked about it. They said it must have been a mistake, that there were capacity limits, whatever that meant. But when you've been working somewhere for 5 years, giving your weekends, fixing other people's messes, you start to notice when a mistake feels a little too intentional. I told myself it didn't matter. It was just another night of expensive wine, fake smiles, and executives congratulating themselves. But when Friday came and my phone filled with photos, my coworkers in tuxedos, laughing beside the boss's brand new sports car, something inside me twisted. I wasn't jealous. I was just tired of being invisible. So I showed up, not to make a scene, not to prove anything. I just wanted to see it with my own eyes. The world I helped build, the one I'd never been part of. The hotel ballroom looked like a movie set. Golden light spilled from chandeliers, and the floor reflected everything. The shoes, the glasses, the faces pretending to care. I walked in quietly, holding my coat like it was a shield. A few people nodded, mostly the ones who still remembered what it felt like to earn something. The rest just stared. And then I saw him, Mark Benton, our new CEO. 38, perfect teeth, the kind of handshake that feels like a test. He was surrounded by board members and people who laughed before he even finished speaking. He didn't recognize me at first, which said everything. I'd spent 2 years fixing the mess his last initiative created. I'd stayed up until 3 a.m., building a client presentation he later won an award for. But to him, I was a name on a spreadsheet. When his eyes finally landed on me, I saw it. That flash of irritation people get when something imperfect ruins their photo. "Well," he said, smiling too wide, "didn't expect to see you here." I told him HR had sent me an invite last minute. He laughed. "Did they? Huh. Must have been a clerical error." People chuckled around him, quiet, polite, cruel. I tried to laugh it off, but something in my chest burned. It wasn't anger yet, just that slow, familiar ache of being reminded you don't belong where you've worked your whole damn life. I walked toward the buffet, grabbed a drink, tried to blend into the background. But Mark wasn't done. He'd had a few glasses of champagne, the kind that makes certain men meaner. He made a toast, loud, self-satisfied. Something about dedication and loyalty. Everyone clapped. He spotted me again and raised his glass. "To those who should be here tonight," he said, eyes locked on mine. "And to those who somehow made it in anyway." The laughter this time wasn't polite. It was real. It filled the room like heat. I stood there, my hand tightening around the glass, trying to breathe. My name was never mentioned, but everyone knew who he meant. I turned to leave. I should have just walked out. But before I could, 2 security guards stepped in front of me. "Sir," one said, "we've been asked to escort you out." For a second I thought I'd misheard. Mark was watching from across the room, still smiling. "It's nothing personal," he said. "We just have standards for this event." The guards were polite, professional, but it didn't matter. The room was watching. Every step toward the exit sounded louder than the last. I kept my head down, but I could feel the cameras, the whispers, my co-workers, my so-called friends. Nobody said a word. Outside, the air hit like cold metal. I stood under the hotel awning, staring at the reflection in the glass. My tie crooked, eyes wet from something that wasn't quite tears. Not yet. I thought about my father, who used to tell me, "Keep your head down, son. Hard work speaks for itself." Maybe it did once, not anymore. I walked away without looking back. My car was 2 blocks down, parked between the shadows. I sat inside for a long time, the engine off, my hands gripping the wheel. The hotel lights blurred in the distance, turning gold to gray. I should have gone home. I should have let it go. But that night wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the look on Mark's face, that smirk that said, "You don't matter." I kept replaying it, wondering how I could have handled it differently. Maybe I should have said something, anything. But when you've been stepped on long enough, silence becomes a habit. By morning, I decided to show up to work anyway. I still had projects due. I still believed that if I kept doing the right thing, someone would notice. That's the kind of person I was, or used to be. The office looked different after that night. People avoided eye contact. Conversations died when I walked by. A few brave ones gave me that pitying smile, the one that says, "I heard what happened." At noon, I was called into HR. The woman sitting across from me looked nervous, like she didn't want to be there. "There was a situation at the company gala," she began. "Mr. Benton feels your behavior was disruptive." I laughed, quietly at first, then louder. "My behavior?" She didn't look up. "I'm afraid we'll have to terminate your employment effective immediately." It didn't even feel real. 5 years of work, gone in a paragraph she'd clearly rehearsed. She slid an envelope across the table. Severance. A legal form. A signature line. I didn't take it. "I was thrown out by security," I said, "for attending a company event I was invited to. And now you're firing me for it?" "I'm sorry," she whispered. "It wasn't my decision." No, of course it wasn't. It was his. Mark Benton. A man who built his career stepping on others and calling it leadership. I walked out with a cardboard box that wasn't even half full, a photo of my father, my old coffee mug, a flash drive with 5 years of work he'd take credit for. The receptionist wouldn't meet my eyes. Outside, the sunlight felt wrong. Too bright, too normal for the way my life had just caved in. I sat on the curb for a while, watching cars pass, thinking about how easy it is for someone like Mark to erase you. One sentence, and you don't exist anymore. That night, I drove to my brother's place. He's a lawyer, the kind of man who sees through people fast. I told him everything, start to finish. He didn't interrupt once. When I was done, he just leaned back and said, "So you have nothing left to lose." He was right. I'd been quiet my whole life. The kind of employee who works late, keeps the peace, never complains. I thought that made me safe. Turns out, it just made me an easy target. My brother poured us both a drink and said, "You ever hear of a whistleblower protection clause?" I hadn't, but I learned fast. We stayed up until 2 a.m., digging through my old emails, archived reports, contracts. The deeper we went, the clearer the pattern became. Mark had been moving company money, rerouting performance bonuses through ghost accounts, signing off on vendor invoices that didn't exist. I recognized some of the names: shell companies, fake contractors. Half of them were tied to a consulting firm owned by his college roommate. The realization hit me like cold water. While I'd been breaking my back to keep the company running, Mark had been siphoning it dry. I spent the next week digging through everything I could find. Old project folders, client communications, financial logs. Some of it was on my personal laptop, files I'd saved to finish work at home. Others, my brother helped me retrieve through legal backdoors only lawyers know about. Every discovery fueled something inside me I hadn't felt in years. Purpose. Not revenge, not yet. Just a need for balance. Then something unexpected happened. I got a call from Emily, an old coworker who'd left 2 years ago. She'd gone to work for a corporate audit firm. She said she'd heard about what happened at the gala and wanted to talk. We met at a coffee shop near downtown. She looked the same, calm, sharp, someone who saw more than she said. "I know what Benton's been doing," she told me quietly. "We've had whispers from clients. He's sloppy." She slid a folder across the table. Copies of internal audits, payment anomalies, duplicated expense reports. "This is enough to open an investigation," she said, "but it'll be stronger coming from someone inside." I laughed. "I'm not inside anymore." "Doesn't matter," she said. "You were. You've got first-hand knowledge. That makes you credible." That word, credible, stuck with me. For years I'd been invisible. Now, suddenly, I was useful again. I went home that night and stared at my reflection, same as I had after the gala. But something had changed. My face looked calmer, my eyes steady. I realized I didn't care if they saw me anymore. I wanted them to remember me. I drafted a report. Every email, every forged signature, every fake bonus. I sent it to Emily's firm anonymously through my brother's secure channel. Then I sat back and waited. Days passed. Silence. Then, one morning, an email arrived. Not from Emily, not from my brother, from someone higher. "Mr. Green, we'd like to meet. Privately." It wasn't a threat. It was interest. The kind of interest powerful people have when they smell blood in the water. I didn't know it yet, but that humiliation, that stupid night at the gala, would cost them everything. That night, I stopped being the nice guy. They thought I was gone. I wasn't. For 3 weeks, I stayed silent. No posts, no emails, no contact with anyone from the office. Let them think I disappeared, that I was licking my wounds somewhere, too embarrassed to show my face. Meanwhile, things were already in motion. Emily's firm had opened a full-scale investigation, quiet, discreet, the kind that doesn't send letters, it sends ripples. Investors were being asked questions they didn't understand. Auditors requested access to financial records that had been misplaced. And Mark? He was still posting photos from rooftop meetings and charity brunches, pretending everything was fine. Every caption was a lie. Then one morning my brother called. You might want to turn on the news. There it was. The headline, Benton Industries under internal financial review, following anonymous tip. Anonymous. That was me. It wasn't public yet, not fully, but the board knew. The whispers started. I could almost feel the panic from miles away. Still, I wasn't ready to show my hand. Not yet. 2 days later, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. A man introduced himself as Daniel Hayes, senior partner from a private investment group. He said he'd received my name from Emily's firm. "We believe we have mutual interests," he said. His voice was calm, powerful, the kind of voice used to closing billion-dollar deals over lunch. "Would you be open to meeting?" I met him at a downtown restaurant, the kind with white tablecloths and waiters who pretend not to listen. He didn't waste time. "We've been reviewing Benton's numbers. We're considering acquiring controlling interest in the company, pending the outcome of this audit. But we'll need someone, credible, familiar with the operations to advise us." That word again, credible. I nodded. "I can do that." "Good," he said, smiling faintly. "Because there's a company gala next week. We'd like you to come, as our guest." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The same ballroom, the same golden lights, the same man who'd told security to remove me. "Will Benton be there?" I asked. Daniel's smile widened. "He's hosting it." When that night came, I dressed the same way I had before. Same dark suit, same shoes. The only difference was the invitation. Embossed gold lettering, my name printed clearly at the bottom. Mr. Andrew Green, partner, DH Investments. As I approached the hotel, the memory hit, the laughter, the whispers, the humiliation. But this time, my hands didn't shake. The valet took my keys and I walked through the glass doors like I belonged there. Because now, I did. The moment I stepped inside, heads turned. Conversations paused. A few people looked confused, others shocked. And then from across the room, Mark saw me. For a second he froze. Then the mask came on. The practiced smile, the confident stride. "Well, well," he said, approaching, "if it isn't our unexpected guest. Brave of you to show your face again." I smiled. "You invited me this time." He frowned. "I don't think—" Daniel Hayes appeared beside me, shaking my hand. "Andrew, glad you could make it." Mark's eyes flicked between us, trying to process what he was seeing. "Mark Benton," Daniel said smoothly, "DH Investments. We're looking forward to reviewing your upcoming projects." "Reviewing?" Mark repeated, his tone tightening. "Of course," Daniel said, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. Your board asked us to assist with oversight during the audit. I believe Andrew here will be our on-site consultant. The color drained from Mark's face. Consultant? Technically, Daniel said, lowering his glass, it means he outranks you. At least for now. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. Mark tried to recover, forcing a laugh, gesturing toward the bar. Drinks then. Let's celebrate. Partnerships. We followed him. Daniel, 2 other investors, and me. The same security guards were there. The same ones who'd escorted me out weeks ago. This time when they saw me, they nodded first. Mark's hand trembled slightly as he poured champagne. He started talking about growth strategies and future goals, his voice getting faster, thinner. Daniel listened politely before cutting him off. Actually, he said, about that, your quarterly statements don't quite match what our analysts found. Care to explain? The room went still. Mark blinked. Excuse me. Daniel gestured to one of his assistants, who handed him a folder. He opened it, revealing printouts, financial documents, signatures, transactions. My transactions. My evidence. I believe these were authorized under your supervision, Daniel said. Several vendor accounts, all linked to shell companies in Delaware. Same IP address, same authorizations, same handwriting. Mark's face drained of color. He looked at me, eyes sharp and wild. You, he said quietly. You did this. I met his gaze. No, Mark, you did this. I just told the truth. That's when the doors opened. 2 men in suits entered. Internal compliance officers, escorted by hotel security. The chatter in the ballroom froze. The lights felt colder now. Daniel raised his glass slightly. Mr. Benton, I believe you're needed in the boardroom. Mark's mouth opened, closed, opened again. He turned toward me, fury breaking through his mask. You think this makes you some kind of hero? You're nothing, Andrew. Maybe, I said quietly. But tonight, nothing outranks you. He lunged forward like he wanted to say more, but the compliance officer stepped in. The last thing I saw before he was escorted away was his reflection in the ballroom glass. Smaller, deflated, stripped of everything that made him powerful. The noise returned slowly. People whispered. Some clapped softly, not for me, but for the spectacle. I didn't stay long. As I left, one of the security guards, the same one who'd escorted me out the first time, but caught my arm. Hell of a comeback, he said under his breath. I just nodded. I didn't need revenge speeches or applause. The sight of Mark being walked out of his own gala was enough. Outside, the night air was cold again, but it felt cleaner somehow. Lighter. For the first time in years, I didn't feel invisible. I didn't come to make a scene. I came to finish one. It's been 3 months since that night. The night I walked back into the same ballroom that once swallowed me whole, and walked out different. Benton's name disappeared from the company website within a week. Resigned for personal reasons. That's how they phrased it. But everyone knew the truth. The audit became an investigation. The investigation became a case. They found everything. Every forged document. Every fake account. Every lie stacked on another. He's still out there somewhere. Not in prison, at least not yet. But stripped of what he valued most. Power, reputation, access. Sometimes that's punishment enough. As for me, things shifted quietly. Daniel's firm offered me a permanent position. Not flashy, not high profile, but steady. You've got an eye for what people miss, he told me. I like that. I work from a smaller office now. No glass walls, no designer furniture. Just quiet, the kind that feels earned. I come in early, make my own coffee, answer my own emails. No assistants, no hierarchy. When people talk to me, they look me in the eye. Sometimes I pass by my old office building on the way home. They've changed the logo, repainted the lobby, but it still smells the same, like printer toner and ambition. I used to think I'd feel bitter, but I don't. I just feel done. I learned something that night at the gala, not about revenge or justice or karma, just about noise. How loud people get when they think no one can stop them, and how quiet it becomes when they realize they were never untouchable. One of the guards from that night, the tall one, Marcus, found me a few weeks later. He was working private security at a conference I attended. He grinned when he saw me. "Didn't think I'd see you again," he said. "Me neither," I told him. He shook his head. "Man, I still remember his face when they came for him. That was something." "Yeah," I said. "That was something." I didn't need to add anything else. The silence said enough. Later that evening, I drove home through the city. Windows down, the air warm and heavy with the smell of rain. For once, I wasn't thinking about what I'd lost or what I'd proved. I was just thinking about the quiet. The kind that doesn't come from revenge, but from release. At a red light, I looked at my reflection in the rearview mirror. I barely recognized the man staring back. Not because I'd changed so much, but because I'd finally stopped trying to be smaller than I was. When I got home, I found my brother on the porch, 2 beers waiting. We didn't talk about it much anymore. We didn't have to. He just lifted his bottle and said, "You good?" I nodded. "Yeah, I'm good." The cicadas were loud that night. The city was quiet. Somewhere in an office I once called mine, someone new was probably working late, believing hard work would be enough. Maybe one day it will be. But for now, I'm okay just watching the lights fade through the window, knowing the story ended the way it should. No applause, no grand speech, just peace. That night, I learned that sometimes karma doesn't shout. Sometimes it whispers. And sometimes it just needs a little push.